Hey guys, this is Mike from B-Tech Reviews here, and today is the review of the Moto G7. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be reviewing the Moto G7. Hope you guys enjoyed the B-roll. So I've had this phone for a week, and all I have to say is that I'm very impressed on how the phone has performing up until now, at least. So, I've been testing out the camera pretty thoroughly. I feel like that's been my main focus of this actual phone, is the front-facing and rear-facing cameras, which I'm just utterly impressed, and you guys are going to see a little bit of a footage from and pictures from the actual camera here. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty, guys. Of course, let's go ahead and give the specs a shout out here. So we're going to post them up right here. Okay, so first of all, the phone has a 6.2 touch-inch display, which is relatively bigger than most of all of the other Moto G phones that I've actually reviewed in the past. I believe the Moto G6 was not as big. It's a 1080 by 2270, so it's an interesting aspect ratio. But anywho, this specific version is actually the international version, which is a little cheaper than the actual regular version. So again, this is GSM only, so I'm going to post the link down here below for you guys so that you guys can check that out. It's a little cheaper, like I said, but definitely a phone worth getting, in my opinion. So storage capacity is 64 gigs of ROM plus external SD input, so you can actually add in more memory if you want. It has a 3000 milliamp battery, so should get you through the day. Haven't had major issues with the battery thus far, although obviously it's a 3000 milliamp battery. It's not gonna, depending on what you do throughout the day, you might not get through a full day with just one charge. You might have to of course charge it once. But again, the cool part about this is it does have a turbocharger, so you can get pretty much half your battery life back within just like about 20 to 30 minutes with the turbocharger. Okay, and last but not least, it's running a Qualcomm Snapdragon 632 octa-core processor clocked at 1.8 gigahertz, so very relatively snappy phones. So definitely very impressed. Body style wise, you guys got to see the B-roll of this phone, but this phone is just a beautiful phone all the way around. I really can't complain too hard. USB Type-C on the bottom. It actually has a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, so definitely very impressed with that. It only has one speaker grill, which we'll kind of go over a little bit later. Sound-wise, though, it's not horrible, I believe. I mean, if you're just going to be listening to whatever, I guess, YouTube or even Netflix, you shouldn't have an issue with that. All the way around, though, the trim has kind of like an aluminum shiny trim. Going forward, of course, on the right side, you just have your volume rockers and your power button. The power button does have a little bit of texture to it, and the back, I ordered the white version. The back is just a beautiful glass back, and it does have the fingerprint sensor right there with the letter M for Motorola, aka Lenovo. I don't know why. I'm surprised, honestly, that Lenovo just hasn't really changed the name of the actual company yet, or I guess they just left it the way it is because Motorola is more well known in the US. But again, going to the front side of the screen, you do have that notch, which isn't as bad of a notch as you would think. Does have that front-facing camera, and again, we'll go over cameras in a little bit. Again, 12 megapixel on the rear. Let me see, and an 8 megapixel on the front, so definitely an impressive camera. You can shoot in 1080 and 720 from the front, and 4K 30 frames per second, and 1080p at 60 frames a second on the rear. And again, it does have dual lenses, so take that with a grain of salt so that you can, but solidly, again, this phone really feels like it's built very well. I'm really not shocked. I feel like the Moto G series has been getting better and better ever since the first one, obviously. And it's a budget phone. I mean, it's a very good mid-range device. Probably one of the most impressive things that I've encountered with this phone is the fingerprint sensor. The fingerprint sensor is relatively fast, as you can see there. So if I turn it off, And let's see, just get that going. And you know, it's pretty crazy how fast it is. I'm just relatively surprised. We'll use my right finger and let's see how fast that goes. So considering that this is basically like the era of facial recognition, some people still like the fingerprint sensor, and I think it's in a perfect spot in the back. Obviously, last year's Moto G6 had you know, the fingerprint sensor in the front, which I kind of had a problem with. If you guys watched my last review video on that, you'll see that I kind of had a little bit of gripe with the fingerprint sensor being down there because it added a little bit of a chin, but Moto is kind of steering away from adding chins, especially on top there. You can see that, you know, there's really no chin on top and really no chin on the bottom there, guys. So let's talk a little bit more about the performance, etc., guys. So aside from the fingerprint and, you know, the build of the phone, there's a few features that this phone is actually lacking that the last version had. So first of all, this one is lacking NFC, which is a surprise to me. NFC, obviously, for those of you who are not familiar with it, allows you to transfer photos, video, etc. from phone to phone, or you can use services like Android Pay and just, you know, a bunch of other little things. But for the most part, people use NFC nowadays to make payments via, you know, whether it be a retail store or a restaurant or whatever. But that's something that the Moto G6 had. So I'm trying to figure out why the Moto G7 doesn't have that. You know what I mean? It's just interesting to know that. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I mean, you gotta take away that maybe that they decided not to go with that because of you know, the build quality seems a little bit better than last year's version of the phone. I'm not 100% sure, but, you know, I guess Motorola just decided, hey, we don't need NFC in this budget device. But for the most part, though, I'm super impressed on how this actual phone performs. I mean, for the most part, I've been able to, you know, jump from app to app with no issue. Again, it's got an octa-core processor and it's got 4 gigs of RAM. So the 4 gigs of RAM, considering the fact that, you know, to me, I guess nowadays 4 gigs of RAM is actually very little, especially in a smartphone. When you have flagships using up to 12 gigs now, which is pretty crazy. But for the most part, you know, I have not had issues using the phone. I've been able to, you know, use apps like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc. You know, with no issues. There's just been very little to no stutteriness as far as usage of the phone goes. It's the same thing for Instagram. As you can see here, Instagram really has no issues from just moving from one thing to the other. And, you know, multitasking, it just has not been an issue for me whatsoever. But for the most part, you know, this phone does not come with a lot of bloatware. Of course, again, this is the unlocked version of it. You know, it does have little things like Moto Assist. If you guys are not familiar with Moto Assist, let me go ahead and open that up here. It's just a few things that allows you to make the phone usage simpler. So, for instance, let's go to Moto Actions. Right, Moto Actions is part of Moto Assist here. And we'll get this a little closer to the screen so you guys can see here. But Moto Actions, right? You know, there's one called Lift to Unlock, which is already on. You have media controls. I have that one turned off. Use the volume keys to change tracks when the screen is off. So that's pretty convenient. Screen editor, edit and share screenshots right away. So that's, you know, you can do that, of course, with a three finger screenshot, which I like, where all you have to do is just put 3 fingers and it does it. And of course you can see that I fell there, but let's try that again. There you go. So you do 3 finger screenshot. That's pretty cool. But again, let's go ahead and discard that one. Okay. And of course, let's see, 1 button nav. I haven't messed too much with 1 button nav. Fast flashlight. If you guys are not aware of the fast flashlight feature, all you have to do is just shake the phone like this, basically, and it'll turn the flashlight on. So very intuitive. This has been around since, like, I believe the first Moto G phone. But for instance, I mean, it's not a feature that I normally would use on a daily basis. I mean, for the most part, you can get away without using that. But it's just interesting that Moto adds in all these little features. Quick capture, again, twist your wrist twice to open up the camera. So that is a feature that I'm not 100% sold on just yet, because it's not as fast as I want it to be. But you can see there that, again, I turned off the screen. Let's do that again. Let's go home, and we'll do that again. So again, it does take a little bit to turn on the actual screen using that, but for the most part, it's really here. Let me put my fingerprint back. I was gonna put my password, but no, I don't want you guys to see my password over here. But for the most part, you know, quick capture. You know, if you guys need to take that quick picture, I guess, and you don't want to have to unlock the phone and go through the process, you can actually do that. So what else we got here? We have pick up to silence. So it does have a feature where as soon as the phone starts ringing, let's say your phone's laying down and it starts ringing, as soon as you lift it up, it'll put the phone on silent so that you won't actually hear it ring. And flip for flip phone over for do not disturb. So for instance, if you guys wanted to, you can actually just put the phone on its face like that, and it'll enable do not disturb automatically. So like, let's say you don't want to get woken up from a nap or whatever, and you're in bed and you just decide to put the phone flat on its stomach, you're not going to get disturbed because it's going to be complete silent. It'll probably send people to voicemail. But other than that, Moto Actions is pretty basic. Obviously, it does have Moto Voice and it does have Moto Display. So Moto Display just says interact with, here we go, interact with notifications and more while the screen is off, and then attentive display, keep the screen on while you're looking at it. So I've been using that one, which again is attentive display, and again the screen will not turn off as long as you're looking at it. So the phone recognizes that you're looking at the device, and then from there, you know, again it'll go back. So again, if I didn't make mention of this at the beginning of the review, this phone does have Android 9.0, which is Android Pie, right? So that is actually the latest version of Android up to right now of this video. Obviously, Android Q is right around the corner. So if you are a person that allows developer options as a thing, you can actually probably get Android Q, but that's mostly catered towards Pixel devices. Again, I haven't tried it with this device, but I'm sure someone will call me out on that. But anywho, again, this does have Android 9.0 out of the box. Let's go ahead and just show you guys really quick, and we'll go from there. And from there, I'll go ahead and start talking about the cameras. So version 9.0. So I think it's interesting. Here we go. Let's get that, and let's see if I can get my camera to focus. There we go. I'm sorry, guys. I've been switching up my lenses, by the way, so just be patient with my actual things. It doesn't let you click it though. Oh, there we go. I had issues with that. So let's see if we can tap that. Android Pie. Usually there's like a little Easter egg, and I don't know if there's an Easter egg here, which is kind of weird. The last one, which is Oreo, that I messed with, which is on my other phone, my other tester phone. It gives you like an Oreo, or it gives you a little Oreo, or something pops out. Here I'm holding it on the screen. Nothing's really going on, so I can't complain too hard. I mean, for the most part. You see how it changes colors though? That's pretty cool. Let's see. That is just, it's kind of trippy, I guess. I guess that's just what it is. It changes colors. But anywho, let's go to the scroll down bar here. So I actually changed this a while back. Let me clear my notifications really quick. You can see there that it's notifying you in white. But actually, you can change this up a little bit. Obviously, you have the option to edit all of this, right? Right now I have the brightness dimmed down to about a little less than halfway, so the screen is actually pretty beautiful though. I've had no issues with the screen whatsoever. I actually changed this to dark mode. There is an option for dark mode, so if you go over here, it'll allow you to change the display preferences, right? And right now if you click advance, you scroll all the way down, it's going to say, do you want to turn on dark theme? So dark theme, all it really does for the Moto G7 is it darkens this on the bottom, which this obviously was a little bit lighter in the color. And then also the drop down notification bar, this turns dark. But and of course your app drawer is also kind of like see-through. So that's just a little feature that I kind of liked about this. I really wish though the dark mode was a full dark mode, because like for instance, let's say I go to the settings is still highlighted in white, and I'm just not a big fan of that specifically, just because, you know, it really washes out video when I'm trying to take video, etc. like that. So I mean, it does look pretty, it's very clear, but I really wish that, you know, when you turn on dark mode, that it also enabled all of this to turn dark as well. So I believe the next version of Android is going to have that. And I remember the original versions of Android, or at least the ones that I used, the Android 2.0 and whatever, had, you know, they were all dark, you know, so why can't we get that back with, you know, this version of Android? I think that after Google started kind of going a little bit more mainstream after, you know, shooting up their Nexus devices and etc. It just really, they really wanted it to look more I guess appealing to the masses, but for me, like, dark mode is less strenuous on the eyes, so there's that. So now I want to talk about camera, guys, and again, I might have to show you gaming etc. in another video. I have actually not downloaded any games on this, but I will show you. I've been focusing more on the camera, so let's go to camera mode really quick. And the reason why I want to go to camera mode is because I've just been genuinely impressed by the camera. So again, the back portion of this has a 12 megapixel shooter. Let me see. Again, aperture is f.18, so portrait mode on this device is actually very good. It has phase detection and autofocus as well, by the way. And then again, that second camera, which is the secondary camera, let me see if I can get that to focus there, again, is a 5 megapixel as well. And it's just, you know, it's more for depth information. But this specific camera, again, can shoot in 4K at 30 frames per second. It can shoot at 1080p at 60 frames per second, 1080p at 30 frames per second, and 720 at 120 frames. So let's go ahead and show you that. So to get to those little actions there, right, you're gonna click this little option right here, and then of course the settings is gonna be right there. So you click that, and then it'll give you all the options for it. So for instance, like, let's say I want to change the photo size, right? Normally the photo size or aspect ratio for photos, I have it set to 16:9, but you can actually put it to 4:3, which is like the default. I like to actually see the whole thing, but again, the default is the default is 14:3. So again, sometimes I'll put it at 16:9 and I'll just mess around with it. You can go back there, and again, when you do 14:9, it'll actually take up the whole screen of the camera. But again, if you change that again, it'll actually you put it back to 4:3, which is 12 megapixel. It'll only show you like this portion of the actual camera. So I think that's kind of interesting. Let me see. Let me go ahead and put this camera down. I'm gonna actually lower the camera there. That way we can kind of glide through the actual processes here. So again, if we go back to there, you can see here that there are various modes. So obviously portrait mode is very good, and I'm going to show you guys some pictures and videos once I get there. It has a cutout mode, it has a spot color mode, it has a cinematograph mode also. So if you guys are not familiar with cinematograph, it's basically like a fancy word for GIF or a GIF. I don't know, a lot of people call it different names. So you can actually create your own GIF here. And let's see what else. It has panoramic mode, and you know, there is a live filter mode that allows you to just, you know, change filters before taking the actual picture. So let me get back into that really quick. I was having fun with portrait mode earlier. It does have a slow motion mode also. A time-lapse mode, which I thought was interesting. Not a lot of, I guess, mid-range devices that I've worked with have a time-lapse mode. So the fact that this has a time-lapse mode to me is just pretty crazy. Also has YouTube Live feature already built in. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I actually used that the other day when I did my live stream, and I was like, wow, this, you know, it works just fine. If you click it, it'll take you straight to YouTube, just like that. And it's just pretty crazy. You know what I mean? I can just automatically live stream depending on what account I'm using. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back there, guys, and you can see here YouTube's already loading up here. Have it connected to my Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is running a little slow. So for the most part, I'm just very impressed by the actual camera and the camera mode from this, because you can actually, you know, if you're a camera enthusiast and you actually like to mess with your own settings, there is a manual and an automatic mode. So right now, for the typical user, you're gonna have it on auto mode, right? But for the person that wants to mess around with all of the good stuff, you have let's see, you have your white balance, you have your ISO, and you have just a lot of different things here, like this, for instance, which I think is your gain, your exposure gain, and you can actually like change how much light's coming into the actual camera. If you want to take a little bit of a darker picture, you can actually move that from left to right. So So just very impressed by this, first of all. And again, for those who just want to leave it in auto, point of focus, you know, it's tap to touch. So if you want to focus on one other thing, you know, it's gonna change the clarity depending on that. So okay, guys. So I mean, as much as I want to talk about the camera, obviously, let's go ahead and show you how good the camera is by me showing you some picture and video here. So let's go ahead and show you that.
Hey guys, this is Mike from B-Tech Reviews here, and I am actually testing out the front-facing selfie mode camera, which is on the Moto G7. Now, right now I am shooting in 720p. This actually does shoot in 720p and in 1080. So this is just going to be a quick clip of the 720p, and then I'm going to jump over to a clip of me shooting in 1080p. Okay, guys? Hope you enjoy. Alright guys, this is Mike again from B-Tech Reviews here, and now this is the front-facing camera in 1080p. Now you're probably not going to see a huge difference from 720 to 1080p. Both shoot at 30 frames per second, and again, we are out here in an area where hopefully it looks a little nicer than where I normally shoot. I am at a convention center area, and you know, I'm hoping to get a couple of good videos for you guys. Let me know what you guys think of the stabilization. I just have this on a monopod here, or on a little tripod, so really no gimbal or anything to make this look better. So again guys, this is the Moto G7 front-facing camera shooting at 1080p at 30 frames a second. Hey guys, this is Mike from B-Tech Reviews here, and this is me shooting 4K at 30 frames per second on the Moto G7. And let's get a shot of these whatever you want to call them, ducks over here, I guess, or gooses. Hopefully I don't drop my camera here. Let's zoom in. The Moto G7 can zoom in up to 8 times according to what I'm seeing on screen here. Let's see if I can get that to focus, and excuse any shakiness, of course. Let's zoom all the way back out. We'll get a shot over here of the waterfall that's going on. You can see there's people taking pictures. The water here, not very clear. It's not deep either though. It's maybe like what, a foot deep of water. But yeah, I just wanted to shoot a little bit of 4K for you guys. See how you guys like it here. Let's get this bench in 4K. Alright guys, this is Mike again from B-Tech Reviews here, and we are shooting again on the Moto G7, which will be, this one will be 1080p by 60 frames per second. So again, this is 1080p. You might not see a huge difference from this between that and again the 4K. Obviously, once I post edit this, it'll probably look a little different. But anyways, this is 4K, or not 4K. This is 1080p at 60 frames per second. This does shoot at 30 frames per second in 1080p also, but I went ahead and just left it as is. I'm not really gonna show you guys 30 frames per second. The main lobby is that way, by the way. And again, I'm just walking in an area that you guys can see that, you know, you're going to be able to see how the camera's shooting. Let me see if I can get this cow, the detail on the cow, or the bull, whatever you want to call it. Check out the horns. This is Texas, guys. You ain't going to see stuff like this out of state. Well, maybe in states like Kansas or Kentucky, maybe. But yeah, this is 1080p at 60 frames per second, guys.
back, and I'm gonna go ahead and just you know, end off with just showing you guys how the sound on this phone is when it comes to the actual speaker. So I already have YouTube open. I'm gonna give myself a shameless plug here.
Hey guys, this is Mike from B-Tech Reviews here, and today we're just going to do a quick data speed test on the Moto G7. Now, this is actually the international version for me, so this is actually only GSM only, so no CDMA. For those of you who are wondering, again, I bought the white, basically global version of this device. It's a little cheaper than the regular version, which right now is retailing at $299, but I believe the global version is retailing around between $150 and $170. So again, I'm just going to do a quick little data speed test. Let's go ahead and open up speed test. And I am on Mint Mobile's network, which is T-Mobile's network, basically. It piggybacks off T-Mobile. So if you're interested, I'm going to actually post a few links down below. I'm going to post the link to this specific phone, which is the Moto G7 International. And then I'm going to post the link to Mint Mobile, because you could actually get some cheap data plans for
Alright guys, so for the most part, you know, you can see how the phone is performing as I'm flipping it, and the sound quality is actually very good. You know, I can't really complain too hard about it. For it only having one speaker, you know, I'm not complaining at all. I think it's very good. You know, I will probably do a few more videos post this video. You know, I might do a comparison with this versus the new Mobile G3 Plus, since those are kind of mid-range devices. But for the most part, you know, if you guys are in the market for a mid-range device, you know, and you guys don't want to spend even as much money as a Pixel 3a would cost, right? If you don't want to spend over $300, this is going to be the phone for you. You know, if you guys are gonna lose NFC capabilities, though, unfortunately, one major flaw that this phone, and I can tell you right away, there is no waterproofness on this, so no IPX 67 or 68 ratings on it. It is splash proof, so you know, someone spills something around it or whatever, and water just gets on it, it's not gonna, the phone's not gonna, obviously, it's not gonna just stop working and stop functioning. But for the most part, though, you don't want to jump into the pool with this. You don't want to take this in an area where, you know, you might potentially end up dropping the phone into some water, for instance. So stay away from those toilets, guys. But for the most part, build quality is great. The screen is beautiful, by the way. If I didn't mention the screen earlier, the screen has over 400 ppi, 403, and it's an IPS display, but it's an HD plus display, so it looks great. It's not going to be OLED or anything like that, but for the most part, you know, the screen gets the job done. I'm not going to complain about this screen. Build quality is great. For me, I guess the most important thing to talk about for me for this is the performance, and I'm just not. I'm super impressed by the performance. I can't complain at all. You know what I mean? So, again, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Definitely keep an eye out for any other videos that I put up on the Moto G7. Again, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like my channel, go ahead and subscribe, guys. And as always, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.